Hi, I'm Mick Hollison, and today I'll be joined by Rob Bearden, CEO and co-founder of Sema4.ai. Today we'll be discussing AI agents and how they are transforming the very definition of software as we know it. Rob, you and I have been in the software industry for a really long time, and we've seen lots of tectonic changes along the way. So what I'd like you to do is tell me how you see Sema4.ai's agents upsetting the apple cart for all the big hyperscalers, the SaaS vendors that dominate the enterprise landscape today.
I don't know so much about upset the apple cart, but I think where agents today are going to play the role in the enterprise IT stack of being able to create the next layer of efficiency and how the unlock for AI is applied across the enterprise in terms of automation and efficiency.
Got it. So I know you and I have talked a few times in the past, Rob, about how it's about a transition from analytics, which you and I spent a lot of time in together, to action. Can you unpack what you mean by that a little bit for me?
Well, the enterprise has spent a lot of time and effort and money to aggregate data, bring data under management, operational data, static data, and the goal is to have visibility into the enterprise through that data so that they can, but the problem is that data is 3 days to 3 weeks old by the time they bring it under management, normalize it, and be able to get a view and an insight into it. And in today's world, they know what the best practice outcome is, the KPIs they're trying to get to, the model they're trying to enable or affect. And while they have insights now from all the data they've been able to bring under management, what they can't do is execute on the actions. They need humans to be able to reason through all that data and then take prescriptive work. And the opportunity with AI generally through agents is to be able to now understand the best practice outcomes, the KPIs, to leverage that data wherever it sits in place, not have to move it, and to be able to have actionable outcomes through agents that deliver the knowledge work that humans are doing today. And that's the big opportunity with AI generally and agents specifically, and that is at Sema4 what our agents are purpose-built to do.
Wow, that is fantastic stuff, Rob. Thank you. And I've got one more kind of drill down question. You told me where actions are relative to analytics, but the other big animals in the room, so to speak, are some of the big ecosystem providers, the SaaS vendors. And from previous conversations with you, I know you've shared that there's a big difference between a SaaS vendor defining the process, the workflow process, and a business user doing it inside of an enterprise. So tell me a little bit about that shift between SaaS vendors defining it and enterprises defining their own business process.
Well, it's both.
Okay.
And that the enterprises have the business processes that drive their operating models and their business models. And those change, they're very fluid. Relationships with customers change, supply chain dynamics change, vendors change, contract constructs change. And the SaaS applications are highly configurable. And they define a point A to B to C in terms of a workflow. And they tend to be very structured, very definitional. And they play a great role for that. The reality of it is, though, the fluidity of business models and outcomes that are required to achieve best practices and best practice KPIs fall outside of the boundaries of those highly configurable, definitional SaaS applications. And so where the big opportunity and the big unlock again comes from AI generally and agents specifically is now that we have that structured workflow behind a SaaS application, let's leverage an agent to do the next level of work or the second and third degree of click down and click through to truly drive the best practice outcome and to be able to leverage the data and the existing applications to properly reason a very accurate outcome that changes fluidity with the change of the customer engagement, the kind of contract, the kind of supply chain dynamics, and those agents can execute in real time to where SaaS applications are very definitional and structured and static.
Okay, gotcha. So we've hit the data and analytics guys, and we've hit the SaaS vendors. Mm-hmm. But the new kids on the block in Gen AI are the providers of these large language models. And those seem to be a major unlock for where we're going with an agentic enterprise. But do they get all the way there, Rob? Are LLMs enough on their own, or what do we need beyond LLMs, I guess is my question to you.
Well, LLMs play a vital role, and they're what created the big catalyst for AI to be able to be effective and next generational across the enterprise, and how the next generation of business models, the next generation of efficiencies, and the next generation of effectiveness happens across the automation in the enterprise. And those LLMs unlock how the best practice plans can be constructed, but they don't have the ability to do, we'll call it the last mile of execution. And that's the role that the agents play, whether it be how they do the math and calculate an outcome, whether it be how they reason through a series of decisions that need to happen to ensure that that agent executes very accurately and done in a highly secure way. And so the LLMs create the unlock for AI in the enterprise. Agents are what drive the outcome and the effectiveness of LLM models to the outcomes in the enterprise. So they have to work together very much so.
Got it. You can't pick up something to read about these LLMs without reading something about how they're obtuse or they're a black box and they can be difficult to understand how they came to the decisions they came to. At Sema4, how do you think about showing your homework, so to speak? How do you think about reasoning and how you express that to a business user?
Yeah. What's important is that you get an accurate outcome through an agent.
Okay.
And so they have to go through a reasoning process within their local models. And they have to be able to leverage the existing applications. They have to be able to leverage the data wherever it sits that build that reasoning.
They need the context, right?
It's the context, exactly. But they also have to have definition of what the outcome is, and that's the role that a runbook will play. And that is part of our platform of how we allow the end user and the line of business owner to define an outcome through a natural language interface through our studio. It's held in our runbook, and then our runbook through our AI model understands what's the data that it needs to get, whether that's transactional or operational data or LLM data, and so that it builds the proper reasoning models that execute the runbooks that our studio holds to make sure that our agents reason properly to deliver that outcome that's accurate, secure, and effective.
Got it. So it's about accuracy, not just delivery of the execution, but accurate execution.
Well, it's absolutely, you're spot on about accuracy, but done in a secure and properly governed way as well.
Got it. Got it. Okay, Rob, I think I'm buying what you're selling, but aren't these, really big guys, the Microsoft of the world and so on, they're kind of pitching these co-pilot things, which makes agents maybe feel a little bit more like glorified assistants. How do you think of agents? Are they just assistants, or can they really do work on their own?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different just like people, there's a lot of different kind of agents, and they all have their different purpose in the role they play and the work they do. And co-pilots that you brought up are certainly have a very strong purpose. And in the case you mentioned, they're assisting on the developer side. So in some cases, they're providing cursor level assistance. In other places, they're actually doing automated code generation. And in fact, are very effective in what they do. There's other kind of agents that are focused on doing search or analytics or a very point set of work. Our agents are designed to be able to drive knowledge work and designed to drive outcomes. And we provide a platform that allows the operator and the business user to build an agent that drives the knowledge work outcomes that they definitionally construct. And so they're just very different kinds of agents that are out there. Co-pilots are very useful and effective. They create a great unlock and effectiveness for developers. We're focused on the business owner.
Got it. That's super helpful. So on the question of autonomy, how far do you think these agents can go? Like, how much knowledge work are they actually capable of doing on their own at some point in time? How do you think of that, Rob?
Well, we're early days in AI. We're early days in agents, but they're quite accurate. They're quite effective in the roles that they play, and they'll only get better. And those things come with the advancements of LLMs and how the agents will use LLMs, and then platforms like ours help define through AI-driven runbooks what is the outcome, what's the reasoning path they need, and they have to be smart enough to know the data that's required and the application constructs that it needs to be able to put that reasoning path and plan together for the agents to execute on the work. And that's what we do. The role of our platform and the role of our agents is really to deliver highly accurate, very secure agents that execute best practice outcomes as defined by the business owner. And that's what our agents are focused on.
Got it. That's a pretty distinct value proposition. Thank you, Rob. I think you've really helped me understand a little bit more about Sema4 specific types of agents and so forth. But you mentioned a moment ago that there are a lot of different kind of agents, and people call themselves products or platforms, and agents that serve a variety of different uses and needs. How do you see the market landscape, and where does Sema4.ai fit into that landscape?
Yeah, well, we've talked about there's different kinds of agents that are very purpose-driven for what they do, what they're designed to execute on. And so we think about it categorically into 3 or 4 categories. On the first category is the DIY agents, and they tend to be open source frameworks that are very developer-centric, developer-driven, bottom-up constructed. And they do a really good job in the role they play in the IT stack, developer-driven. On the other side of that...
So Rob, just let me pause you for a moment there. So are these people whose native tongue is Python? Like that's how we should think of those DIY guys?
Well, there's various kinds of framework, but okay. The modern approach to building agents is clearly Python-driven developers and Python-driven frameworks, for sure. Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so I know you were going to move on to the next category here. Yeah.
The next side is really purpose-driven agents, and those are things that are built. A great example of that is customer service, customer support, or revenue management. HR onboarding, ITSM, and those are very purpose-driven agents that are defined to be a very specific process, a very specific path. And the issue that the enterprise, in order to adopt that, they need to be prepared to transform and apply their operating model specifically into the construct of how that agent works and executes. And when they do, they get very effective, very defined, disciplined outcomes. And there's a great role, and that's been very effective in roles of agents. Then there's the hyperscalers, and they tend to play more the co-pilot role. And those are assisted-driven, largely coding, assisted code, automated code generation. They tend to be very focused on the IT stack, so HR onboarding or ITSM services, and very effective in the roles that they play. With our approach at Sema4, we're very focused on a horizontal platform. And we want to be very focused on delivering and executing on knowledge work for the business process owner. So the business process owner hires humans, they train humans, they're training those humans to do best practice outcomes. They know the KPIs or the compliance standards that they have to deliver the work to accomplish. and they train the workflow and how to get it. And they use applications, SaaS applications typically. They use operational data. They use transactional data from various systems. And the goal of the Sema4 platform is to let them simply define the outcome in our studio, and then our AI-driven runbook constructs that agent reasoning path. It knows the data and applications that it needs to build the reasoning for that agent to execute its outcome. And so we're a horizontal platform that gives the enterprise and ISVs the ability to build and deploy their knowledge worker agents.
Rob, I don't know that I've ever seen more hype and buzz about anything ever than we are seeing today about the world of AI agents. Yet today, we still haven't seen quite the level of uptake and adoption inside the enterprise that we know is possible. What do you think might be holding us back, or what are the opportunities that you see to get enterprise AI agents deployed at scale? What have you learned from some of your early customers?
Well, I think agents, the different types of agents are in different phases of adoption. And so if we look at co-pilots or assistant agents that are doing assistant code generation or even automated code generation, those are being embraced pretty broadly, but they are able to recalibrate from error if there is one that's driven by the agent. On the other side of that trade are agents like ours, and I think the operative word used was enterprise agents. And in our world, an enterprise agent is delivering a mission-critical outcome that the business is going to depend on for a tax filing or compliance or a whole inventory reconciliation, an accounting model clarification. And so these are mission-critical outcomes that are driving and driven by knowledge work and delivering knowledge work outcomes. And so to do that, the enterprise has to trust that that agent is accurate in the outcome that it's delivering, and the business is running its supply chain models, its customer engagement models, its sell-side models, maybe its buy-side models.
Real money involved.
Real money, tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars of outcomes, right? Or tens of millions of dollars of penalties if those outcomes aren't right from a tax or compliance standpoint. And so they have to trust the execution of those outcomes. So we think about this in a framework called S.A.F.E. And that starts with that agent has to be secure, and that it has to be executing within the security and governance and lineage frameworks that its mission-critical applications work from today, and our platform ensures that. The second thing is that agent has to be obviously accurate, and that's incredibly important, and that the reasoning paths that those agents take to execute that knowledge work are very accurate, and how they leverage data, how they access applications, how they leverage the runbooks that are generated from our platform to derive those reasoning models that deliver highly accurate agent execution for the knowledge work is paramount, right? And then it has to be fast. These agents, to be built and deployed, have to be able to be very efficient, very effective, and that's what our studio is designed to do and be. And so that the process owner, the line of business owner, can simply, through a natural language interface in our studio, define their outcomes in our AI runbooks, build those models, build those outcomes in the agents to do it. But that has to be done in hours or days, not weeks and months, like a big SaaS or an ERP implementation. And to be able to then leverage, as we've talked about, the security, governance, and lineage models, and to be able to do that in a 100% accuracy mode, and that we make sure that we're managing not having the hallucinations that the LLM models generate, right? And then the next piece is they're extensible. And the power of our platform enables the enterprise to quickly take their existing infrastructure and extend it in a way that leverages our platform to apply the agentic models and outcomes that they're trying to deliver against. And that's really the power of our model, is to bring that framework called S.A.F.E. Secure, accurate, fast, and a highly extensible platform to deliver those best practice, mission critical agentic knowledge work outcomes.
Gotcha. So Rob, let's unpack a couple of those just a tad bit more here. So when you say secure, I hear a lot of people use the terminology, but have you guys achieved some meaningful compliance standards or certifications or anything in that space that really sort of stamp your solution distinctly as being secure?
Yeah, it's important as part of that to have all the proper certifications around
ISO
for
and HIPAA
ISO,
and those things.
HIPAA, PII. We've not quite gotten to the FedRAMP yet. Okay. That's coming, but that's a very complex, time-involved process. But the enterprise standards around
SOC 2.
HIPAA, SOC 2, ISO compliance, I think all of the big rocks we've been able to hit, and that's helped in the adoption of our customers being able to truly put our agents into production to ensure that as part of our S.A.F.E. framework, that security, compliance, and governance standards are met at the highest level through those standard compliances.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a bit of the kind of good housekeeping seal of approval for the enterprise. So that's good to hear. Okay, the second thing I kind of wanted to unpack, thanks for the answer on security there, Rob, was extensibility. And I think there are a couple of different angles to that. One of them is extensibility inside an enterprise, meaning that your agents need to be able to interact and integrate with your other enterprise apps and data. That's clearly super important. But it also came to my mind that there are a lot of ISVs out there, and I'm a little bit curious as to how some of them might want to play with agentic technology like that from Sema4.
Well, you brought up two important areas. One is the enterprise motion, the other is the ISV motion. If we start with the enterprise motion, they want to enable agentic automation, but they don't want to rebuild a whole new data platform, a new set of applications, and a big re-implementation. And I think that's one of the important points of time to value that agentic has to be able to enable. And so to take the data in place, the applications in place, and simply define the best practice outcome that line of business or process owner in the enterprise has, and to be able to build a runbook and have AI build the reasoning models and the agent paths to go execute on the outcomes. And that's what's important, is any platform has to just be truly extensible to plug into the existing frameworks, the existing data models, have a zero copy data enablement, and all the proper APIs to plug into the applications and the LLMs to leverage those natively for knowledge worker driven agent outcomes. And so that's the first part of extensibility. From an ISV standpoint, extensibility becomes very important because they have a time to market that they need to be able to provide agentic outcomes to their customers. And they want to be able to apply agents as an extension of their applications. And their options are to either go build an AI team and to be able to bring in a bunch of open source tooling and frameworks and then apply that against their existing applications. Or they can simply adopt a model like ours that's highly extensible, that'll plug in through an API framework directly into their applications, that'll leverage their data sets. And as importantly, we're going to be able to bring in other data sets and/or applications that help their applications, their SaaS applications, execute agentic even more accurately and even more effective. And what that does is it gives them a stronger value prop and a faster time to value from their applications leveraging agentic. And so time to market, time to value through adopting our platform for agentic automation is a very significant motion that we're seeing right now.
Got it. And from what I understand, Rob, one of the really cool parts of the Sema4 platform is you got a couple of ways of making these integrations happen. You've got your own action gallery, which has some sort of pre-built abilities to interact with other enterprise apps. You can roll your own if you need the agent to interact with a custom app. And what I'm really excited about is kind of one of the new emerging standards. I understand you're just about to offer some great support for Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Is that on the docket?
Of course it is. That's part of being an extensible platform. Not only in terms of how you leverage the security models and governance and compliance, but how you interface and interact with data, applications through the frameworks. And MCP is a very, very big, important part of that. But then behind that is how we execute the outcomes. And we provide an action gallery that has a series of templates and outcomes that execute best practice outcomes and work, if you will, but also an SDK that gives you the ability to either extend those packaged action points or build your own best practices. And so the ability to interoperate with our marketplace, build your own with our SDKs, and then certainly leveraging MCP is the way to bring in all these other outside sources is important criteria of being truly an extensible platform in a standardized way.
Gotcha. Rob, you and I have had a chance to talk a good bit about how to build agents, but we haven't spent a whole lot of time yet talking about how to deploy agents and how to get them rolled out at scale inside of an enterprise. I know that it's Sema4's strategy to help enterprise customers manage the full life cycle of AI agents, but I'd really be curious to know, you've got a couple of pretty big, pretty well-known enterprises that have adopted your agentic platform. How did they deploy it? What options did they choose? You know, candidly, even what options do they have to deploy, Rob?
Yeah, I think that's one of the important attributes that a platform an agentic platform provider for enterprise agents like us has to be able to do, is to enable the full life cycle of those agents. How they're built, how they're deployed, and also how they're managed. And when you get into, fleets of agents being deployed, how do you manage all of that in its execution? And a big part of that starts with how and where they deploy that. And we want to provide optionality into the deployment models that our customers have. Our initial customer set and our first couple of cohorts of customers have all deployed those in their VPCs, leveraging our platform, and that has been a very clean, easy process. We operate within all of their constructs for security and governance models, and fit very nicely, and fit within their InfoSec models in a very clean way. I think what's important also, though, is in time to value. And so we also want to have a deployment option for customers that operate in marketplaces, that are already engaged in a workflow or an application. They have a security and governance construct that's set up. They have a data model that they're engaged with. And so what we have done is provide, in our first customer cohorts, our VPC-driven enterprise edition, but then we have a Teams edition. And it leverages the marketplace constructs for those user profiles so that if a customer is operating an application or a data set in a marketplace, they can simply go into that marketplace, fire up our application, build an agent, and have that agent executing within that user profile. And we've just announced our first Teams Edition marketplace through work that we did very collaboratively with Snowflake. And we were very, very focused on the Snowpark container services and how we operate within the Snowflake container services in the Snowflake marketplace, so that if you have Snowpark credentials, you're operating a data set or an application there, you simply go to the marketplace, go to Sema4.ai agents, and begin to build an agent, leverage our templates to get a fast start with, and you're deployed in a matter of a few hours into that Snowflake-driven data set and application. So we've got to provide optionality, whether it's in the enterprise edition through a customer's VPC, or whether it's a Teams edition in a marketplace. Our first offering of that is with Snowflake and the work we've done jointly with them to optimize Snowpark container services. We're really excited about it. We think it provides a really low friction, fast time to value for those Snowflake customers.
So congratulations on the Snowflake thing. Let me unpack it just a hair. Just want to make sure I got this right. So you're already a Snowflake customer, you've already got Snowflake credentials, then somewhat automatically your authorizations, your authentications, your security credentialing, all of that stuff is it just works. It's like Prego, it's just in there, huh?
That's the power of our Teams editions and marketplace, and as we talked about, the initial manifestation of that is with Snowflake. So you simply, if you're operating with the Snowflake credentials, you go into the marketplace, leverage the Sema4.ai agent, and go to work building an agent and deploy that within your existing credentials, security and governance standards that you're operating in today. It's a very powerful way to get started to drive agentic outcomes.
Fantastic. Sounds like a really quick and easy way to get moving in this very big and complex world of agents. So exciting to learn about that, Rob.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, I want to wrap things up with kind of a big picture question for you. Writ large, kind of put on your big brain hat and tell me, what do you see as the role of AI in the enterprise moving forward?
Yeah. Well, look, every 10 plus years, there's a new big transformational movement. It started with client server and internet and big data and SaaS applications, right? And now we look at AI generally and what LLMs have been able to do to really serve as the catalyst to accelerate AI across everything in the world and specifically enterprises. And what AI is going to do going forward is really, really transform operating and business models, just like the internet did, and just like big data did it from insights, and just like the cloud did from deployment mechanisms, and the kind of applications from e-procurement and SaaS. And it just changes how the enterprise engages with their product design and build model, to how they engage with their customers, their products, and their supply chains. And it just creates this huge velocity of operating models that transform and open up new business models, new products, new offerings, new levels of efficiency. And I think where you're going to see the application of AI into a way that creates sustainable value across the enterprise in the ISV landscape is through agents. And so you'll see agents be deployed in a way that drive a level of efficiency and accuracy of execution for knowledge work, and a velocity and way that really, really unlocks the manifestation of the next generation of operating and business models and next generation of products. And I think what you'll see that play through as, you're going to see the first billion-dollar company built with 100 employees. Right?
Wow.
And I think you'll see that in the next 3 to 5 years, right? I think in that same time frame, you'll see, 20 to 50% of the knowledge work that's done and delivered by humans today be done through agents. I don't think that necessarily displaces humans in the workplace. It allows them to apply those those cycles into the new operating models, into the new product models, the new supply chain models, just like the way big data did, just like the way the internet applications did and the new SaaS applications. Those humans just apply different functions and different form factors, but human work as we know it today, I think is probably at least 50% enabled by agents, the knowledge work part of it, in the next 3 to 5 years. And that opens up and unlocks these new operating and business models that are going to create multiple new opportunities for enterprises to create and capture value, to evolve their business models. And then we're going to see the startups that, we're going to see the next Amazon generated by, just a few handfuls of employees driving hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars of revenue through agents.
Wow, unbelievable. I can't thank you enough for your insights on all of that today and where you see the industry going and AI going in general. It sounds like a very exciting future, not only for the AI and agentic industry, but specifically for Sema4.ai. So thanks for spending the time with us, Rob, and looking forward to having more of these conversations down the road.